everybody, I'm Dr. Audrey Robinson, play therapist for Mesquite ISD Family Support Center. Now, I won't deny that I have the best job ever. I get to play with kids, but play is more than just fun, especially when done by a trained therapist. I want to talk about the power of play and maybe even some things that you're noticing in your own home. It's really easy today, especially with this crisis schooling that we're doing during the pandemic, to maybe push play aside or lessen the value of it in comparison to academics. But I want to make an argument for the power of play and how it can help you lessen the load that you're carrying. Play is the young child's language, and toys are like their words. Children use toys and play to express themselves. While adults, we typically talk or maybe even write out what's going on with us. We might call up a friend and have a conversation. Kids play out what they're feeling, what they're thinking, and even to work out behaviors. Play is often talked about as if it's relief from serious learning, but for children, play is serious learning. And that quote rings true and was said by Mr. Rogers. There's lots of benefits to play: expressing emotions, learning coping skills, building self-esteem, developing responsibility, practicing decision-making, learning self-control, and even practicing problem solving. We want our children to grow up and have all these wonderful skills, being able to handle their emotions, big and small. We want them to be problem solvers. And this reminds me of a rule of thumb from Garry Landreth, Dr. Garry Landreth, and it is never do for a child what she can do for herself or what he can do for himself. And this rings really true in play. I know that while my kiddo plays, I'm often doing things, trying to figure out what we're gonna eat, working on work, maybe even just taking a break. And my kiddo, especially as young as she is, being 3, likes to come and ask me to do things. Sometimes I can't stop or don't want to stop what I'm doing. And I also don't want to just rush in quickly and fix things for her. I want her to struggle a little bit to get comfortable with that feeling of struggling and try things for herself. So if my kiddo comes to me and she's having a hard time opening something, sometimes I'm just going to open it and give it back to her. But when I really have the time to kind of give her that focus, I'm going to say, hey, tell me what's going on. And she's going to say something like, oh, I can't get this open. Open it for me. And I'll probably say something like, please, and she'll say, please open it for me. And then I'm gonna say, tell me how to open it, because I want her to think, not just, oh, I can't do this, here, Mom, do it for me. I want her to think, what are the ways I can open this? So sometimes I delay helping her with things. Hey, I'll be there in a minute, see if you can figure it out once I finish, whatever it is. And sometimes I say, tell me what to do. And then if she's like, do this, then I'm like, okay, tell me what's next if it's multiple steps, and have her tell me how to help her solve the problem. So she's working on those skills. I also want to talk about some things that you might see during your kids' play. In play therapy, we call these themes, like if you see something play out over time, and some things that clue me in as a play therapist to whether or not play might be important or whether kids are working on stuff is the amount of time, the repetition, them doing it over and over and over again. And especially the younger kids you have, how many times they want to read the same book or play the same game and do the same thing so many times that you probably want to pull your hair out. So repetition is important. Intensity. The intensity with which kids play with things. Like you can tell when your kid's just kind of playing or when they are like laser focused, locked in, and they've got that intensity. And then the duration, the amount of time they're doing it, how long it lasts. Those are all important things that I look for in clues in play. Now, you might be seeing some things in your kiddos' play in relation to the pandemic and what's going on. I know that in my own kid, that even last night we were, playing, she was having her imaginative playtime, and she got her little cat. She's got like a little carrier that she carries it in, and she put her cat in the carrier, and she brought me the cat and said, this cat was playing on the slide and she got the coronavirus when she was playing on the slide, and now I have to keep her here in this cage so other people won't get it. Blew my mind. I mean, I knew my kid knew kind of what was going on, and that she knew we were staying inside and not seeing grandparents because of the sickness. But to see her play this out, like, we don't often get that lucky with play, seeing kids work things out so specifically and explicitly. Sometimes kids work things out symbolically, but she played this out, and she doctored her cat and put it in isolation and took care of it. And so I know that that's her working on processing and handling the things that are going on right now. So I want to talk about some other themes that you might see with your kids. Some themes you might be seeing, some things you might be seeing your kids play out. When play therapy, we call them themes. One is regression, which means your kiddo might be acting like a much younger kiddo. You might suddenly see your kiddo, who maybe can walk around and do a lot of things for themselves, want to be carried more often. Might even ask, feed me like a baby. Will you sing to me like a baby? My kid has been doing a lot of that during this time when her whole world's been kind of turned upside down. That one's pretty common. If you've got kids who are pretty self-sufficient and suddenly want you to do lots of things that you know they can do themselves, this is them reaching out and asking you without really straight up asking you, telling you that they need something. And this is them processing all this that's going on, maybe showing you their anxiety. You might notice more anxiety in their play too. You might see your kiddos playing out themes of safety and security and protection. This can look like a lot of different things, whether they're building walls or building castles and towers, or others are protecting others from different things. You might see some of those. You might see power and control, with one dominating another, or one person is always in control or always has to be the decision maker or is telling other people what to do. You might see mastery, and that is kiddos working on trying to figure things out, setting up increasingly complex things for them to play out and do. It might look like taking a Nerf gun or a dart gun and setting up a series of targets and obstacles and trying to shoot those in increasingly harder and harder ways. Maybe even in some ways that are entirely impossible. Your kids might be setting themselves up to fail and then melting down, even though they know and you know that what they're doing is impossible. This is things that they're working on, that feeling of failure, that feeling of not being able to have any control. Kiddos might be playing out relationships and nurturing. There might be a lot of school. Kids tend to like to play school a lot anyway, but the school might be particularly important to them right now as they play out those themes, or nurturing a baby, or caretaking. You might see grief, loss, and death. Don't be scared if your kids are playing out dying and death. Totally normal for their development. Totally normal for kids to experience and express these things in a really safe way. We really want our kids playing out these things. We want them playing out that aggression and that control and power and the death and loss in their play in a way that's safe and secure. Kids might be playing out chaos and instability. That may look like wrecking a playroom, just chaos. No really rhyme or reason to the play, just lots of throwing things and stepping on things or breaking things and just messing things up, scribbling on crayons with no really kind of plan or intent. That is playing out those feelings that kids are, that they don't have a lot of control over their environment, what's going on right now. You might see some perfectionism too, kids wanting things to be perfect. You might just see that in daily life, things wanting to be perfect. Some of that has to do with the little amount of control kids have. I do want to kind of give you a word of caution, that play is symbolic for a lot of kiddos. So it's not very easy to take the play behaviors, the things you're observing and witnessing, and saying that this means this is going on with my kid. That's not something I do as a play therapist. I don't know for sure what your kiddo is experiencing, what a kiddo who's playing is experiencing. A lot of times it's not super easy to tell. Now, the example I gave of my kiddo playing out the coronavirus, I was pretty sure I knew what she was processing and working on there, but we don't always know with kiddos. So I don't want you to leap and worry that, oh, this is bad or this means this. We don't always know what things mean to our kiddos, and that's okay. Just kind of observe and know that if you're seeing these things, totally normal. Play is powerful, and it is so important, especially for the young child. And I would stress that playing and your mental health and your kids' mental health are probably some of the most important things right now while the world is so unsure of what's coming next. And I want to challenge you while you're watching your kid and you're observing. I know you're doing a lot of things and getting things done and just really trying to hold everything together right now. I want to challenge you, if you can, to spend 20 or 30 minutes a week, if you can, playing with your kiddo as a special playtime. This is kind of similar to what play therapy would be like. You're going to play with your kiddo and you're going to let them lead. Kids have so little control over their lives. At school and at home, we're saying, do this now, we're gonna go here, we're gonna do this. So this is a special time for them to lead and for them to have your full attention. No TVs, no devices, no video games, just imaginative play where they're playing with things and they're leading you. This is almost like you're totally dumb. You're letting your kid choose the things, even tell you what to do and say. When I'm doing this time with my kiddo and she's like, hey, you're playing the queen, I want you to do this, I'm always like, what should I say? And I even have her tell me what I should say and act out that character the way she wants me to do it. And we don't play like that 100% of the time, but it is so powerful for your kids to play with you, have that face-to-face time, and to be in total control, within the bounds of safety and the rules of your house, and have that wonderful time. It is so powerful. So I want to encourage you, don't push play aside. Spend that time with your kids if you can. Allow them to have that play time. It's really fantastic for their little brains. All right, as always, I'm going to link some resources down below, have my contact information. Feel free to reach out, and I'll be back next week with tips. I think I'm going to do limit setting, how to limit set with your kiddos. All right, bye everybody.